When all of that is unresolved, you just keep dating your father over and over again.
PSA, dump him.
Dump him! It's such a fascinating topic, my God. But tapping is feeling good is your job. And the reason for this is you think of something that you want and the universe opens a big trapdoor and it just falls out. But it falls onto a conveyor belt. The speed of the conveyor belt depends on...
And I was like, gotta get the attention somehow. He replies to the Instagram story and he's like, should have shown a nipple. He's always like, if you want to do OnlyFans, we can make extra money. I'll be the photographer.
I had this belief that men had more authority than I did.
What it means to have a billionaire baddie mindset.
A lot of it is about...
Welcome to the show, Gala. I am so excited that you're here. Oh my God, I know you always bring the energy and the vibes to any room that you walk into. So I am so excited for what's going to unfold in this conversation and just the injection of energy that I know it's going to give to everyone listening today. I can't wait to talk to you about your journey, your story, your book, love, tapping, manifestation, self-expression, like so many things. So we'll see how much we can get to, but you are like a wealth of knowledge and a ball of energy. So I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome to Make Shift Happen.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm really excited. So I wanted to kind of start with something that I heard you say recently. And you said, whatever you loved to do as a child is likely a seed that's planted for something that's going to bring you massive purpose and fulfillment later on as an adult. And I'm just curious, like for you, you have a very unconventional job, we could say. So I'm just curious for you and your journey, like how that has shown up for you and looking back in retrospect. What were the things that you loved as a child that you're now like, it makes so much sense that this is what I do now?
Okay, so here are 3 of my favorite pastimes as a child. Number 1, creating fake books where I would like write a story inside. I would make a front cover, a back cover. I would staple it together. I would draw a barcode on the back. I would write a synopsis. I'd put like a quote at the top of the cover. Like I would literally make my own books. That was the first.
I literally did that too. Isn't that wild?
Yes. And like how indicative is that? Like it tells you so much. If these are the things that your childhood mind is naturally drawn to, there's something in that that's true for you. You haven't been told you should want it. It's something that you authentically want. The other project was I had a little tape recording machine that I would walk around with, and I had this fake radio station called Looney News, and it was a neighborhood radio station. There was like 20 different characters who I would do the voices of. I have tapes and tapes and tapes of this. It's complete insanity. And the third was I used to always walk around with a big video camera and film things and do little plays and skits. And that's basically my life, those 3 things.
That is because obviously, you podcast, author, content creator, like, you're in front of the camera, behind the mic, writing books, like it all kind of like comes to life. For someone else, for like an average person, what have you seen in terms of that kind of like inner child joy and how people can bring that forward into their lives, even if they have some sort of like different career where they feel like, oh, none of my childlike joy is being expressed in this job?
Well, I think the journey to expressing the childhood joy is a process. It doesn't automatically happen, especially if you've pushed that down or away for a long time. And I know a lot of us grew up with these passions. Like I loved writing. I wanted to write books. And I was told when I was in my teenage years, like, you'll never make any money doing that. So if you want to write for a living, you need to become a journalist or probably you should be a lawyer. That's what I was told. And so for a long time, I really squashed those ideas and resigned myself to having a terrible, boring corporate job and hated my life, literally hated my life. So I think that this is really about just thinking about who you used to be and getting back in touch with that in small little ways. Whether it's that you used to like to paint and now you want to take a class doing that or just buy some canvases and fuck around and see what happens. There's so much joy in that. And I think a thing that we get tripped up on too is we think that the passions we have, the things we love, we're supposed to monetize them. And that really can suck the joy out of the art or the playtime. So you don't have to turn this into your new job or career or side hustle. It can just be something you do for the fun of it. And whether that's taking a class or reading some books about something or just picking up, a pair of tap dancing shoes, whatever it is, just go play around. You don't have to be perfect the first time. Just have fun.
Yeah, so true. I feel like for a lot of people, because this conversation about what's my purpose, trying to find my purpose, and a lot of people want their job to be something that is in alignment with their purpose, especially nowadays. This conversation is more and more prevalent. But I find that for a lot of people, it is more challenging to actually uncover what those passions are or what feels purposeful and fulfilling to you when you're going in trying to seek out that monetization piece. It's almost like it creates a block of you actually even being able to explore enough. Like, I truly believe being able to uncover your purpose. It's not something that you find, but it's like by living your life in alignment with the most joy and love as possible, it will eventually reveal itself. So yeah, that's a really good tip. And I know we stress ourselves out a lot about like, well, how is that going to make me money? You don't need to know that answer yet. You do something for the sake of doing it. Do something for the sake of it being joyful. And then potentially, something else that you have maybe never even thought of will pop up, or an opportunity, or you'll find a new way to actually turn it into something potentially down the line. But I think when you go in with that expectation of this thing has to make me money and lots of it, you immediately kind of like squeeze all the creative energy out of it. And it sort of like blocks that flow of even being able to have ideas. Like, creative ideas need spaciousness. And I feel like they need relaxed energy to flow in. And that kind of like constricts it a lot.
It absolutely does. And you can feel when someone is doing something because they're trying to get a certain result, that they are in it for the money, or they're like, I'm going to make this thing because I know that there's a market for it, or people are going to want to buy it. And for some people, that's fine. Like, if you're a true entrepreneur and that is your passion is to like make things and sell them, that's fantastic. But for a lot of us, our passion is in exploring. It's in learning a new dance move. It's in combining colors in a new way. And when you approach it with that pure enthusiasm and that real joy, then everything shifts. Like, the opportunities that come to you will be miraculous and synchronistic, rather than you're pushing a boulder uphill and you're like, who's going to pay me for this? Who can I collaborate? Who can I use to get to this next level? It's a grubby energy, and I don't think it brings the best out in people or the best out in your artistic pursuit at all.
Yeah. And for me, at least, there would be no longevity in that, because if I'm just doing something to try to get a result, or because I think it's a gap in the market, or I found the problem that now I have to create the solution for just because it's viable and it's something that could make sales, like, I'm not going to want to do that for very long, because I'm not going to be inspired naturally by it. So true. I didn't know that you worked in corporate. I can't picture you in corporate. Did you have pink hair when you were working in corporate?
I had, what did I have? Black hair, brown hair, red, orange, green for a while. I was obviously an unconventional person in my corporate jobs. I would still wear combat boots to work, and I had facial piercings, and I was so miserable. I can't even tell you how deeply unhappy I was. I was like, I can't live like this. This is not going to work for me.
I did one summer internship in a corporate company, and that was enough for me to be like, oh shit, I don't think I'm cut out for this, at least not yet. I was just, coming out of college, and I was like terrified of that. And I was like, I think I'm going to pack my bags and move to Europe for a guy that I met on Tinder. So that's what I did. I ended up living in Spain for 6 years, and we're still together. And that's my partner.
Aww, so that's lovely. That's beautiful.
So I understand the feeling of feeling like trapped. When I was in jobs that I didn't love or enjoy, I described the feeling as like waking up every day with kind of like a cloud over your head. Like, you just sort of feel this little bit of dread of like, oh, this is my life again. Like, this is what we have to do again. What allowed you to break free from that paradigm and to create something different for your life? Was there fear involved? Was there something that like really woke you up in your life that made you choose a different path?
A few things sort of happened at the same time, which came together in a really beautiful way. The first was that I discovered tapping, EFT tapping, and I discovered that when I was 22 years old. When I started using this technique, it was like going from the black and white scene in The Wizard of Oz to when she opens the door and it's full color outside. And I started to see, instead of seeing limitations and fear and resistance, I started to see opportunities and potential and feel excited about what was going on. And the second thing that happened was I moved at that time from New Zealand to Australia. And I'd lived in New Zealand my whole life, and I had just moved to Melbourne, Australia. And I had just started tapping, and I went to try to get a job somewhere. I did an interview for in a clothing store or something, and they turned me down. And I decided that this was a sign from the universe, and that this was a sign that I had to go all in on the thing that I felt most excited about, even though I had no idea how it was going to work, no idea how I was going to make money. But I was like, this is the thing that I've always wanted to do. And so I started a fashion blog. I had always wanted to have a magazine, but at the time I had $1,000 to my name. I had just no money, no resources, no network. And I was like, okay, I know the internet inside and out. This is something I can start with. And I started that blog, and I would post every day. I had so much to say. I was so excited about it. And it just grew so quickly because I was all in, and not because I was like, oh, well, one day I'm going to get a collaboration with Louis Vuitton, but I was just doing it because I was like, I have so much to say. And it was like the tapping unlocked all of the smallness I had inside of me, all the fear I had about expressing myself. It was like I had just been beamed into another galaxy. I had things to tell the people of this galaxy about where I'd been and what I'd learned. And I was just on a mission to tell them. And yeah, it grew really quickly. I got a column in Cosmopolitan magazine in Australia very quickly, and my life just expanded really, really fast.
Oh my gosh, so interesting. It's funny how so many of us start our journeys like that, where something happens, there is a rejection, and the rejection is the redirection for you to go, oh, well, maybe I'll just go over here and do this. I had the same thing happen to me. I thought I had my dream job, and I was so suddenly fired. And I thought, oh my gosh, is this the end? I thought I was supposed to trust the universe. I thought everything was happening for me. I quit all of my other jobs. I went all in, no plan B. I have this amazing dream job now, and now it's gone and I have nothing. I'm living in a foreign country. What am I going to do? And that was the spark. That was the catalyst. That was the motivation to go, well, I'm going to write more on my blog. I'm going to post more online. I'm going to build something of my own. So I love that. And I also had no fucking money at the time.
Which is always the way. But when you don't have any money, you become so resourceful.
Yeah.
And it also makes you so grateful. I remember back then, it was like a treat for my boyfriend and I to get a slice of pizza once a week, or to get a latte downstairs. It was like we could do it once or twice a week. Maybe we had nothing, but we were so happy. I was so stoked to be living my creative dreams, to not have to go to an office, and to get to do things on my own terms and not answer to anybody. It was dreamy.
That kind of freedom feels like the lottery when you finally unlock it. Even if all the money in abundance isn't fully there yet, it still feels abundant because you are in that space of freedom. I want to talk a little bit about fashion and self-expression, because you obviously are passionate about that. You started that fashion blog. That was kind of your entry way in. And you've also said that you like to dress up every day like you're in a music video, and that being hot is a spiritual practice. These are Gala darling quotes. So yeah, what are your kind of beliefs around self-expression and allowing your weirdness to be your superpower, and using clothes and stuff to express that?
Well, firstly, I think that style is one of the best ways for you to attract your people. They will see you. They can spot you in a crowd. It's a way of distinguishing yourself from everybody else. And it's a way of like-minded people to be able to find you and instantly recognize you as kind of one of them. And I grew up as a gothic teenager. I wore a dog collar from the supermarket every day, and combat boots and stripy tights and corsets, the whole thing. I was really into it. And what I discovered from that was actually that people responded really positively to it. Even though I looked spooky and weird, people were really impressed by my confidence. To be dressed like that at 13 and walking around and feeling good about yourself, I noticed that it sort of lit people up. And I've realized that as I go through life, people look at other people who are dressed up and they admire them because they think they could never do that. And everybody wants to feel like the star of their own movie, but most people don't have the confidence to dress that way. But the thing is that when you do dress that way, whatever that means to you, maybe it's wearing a fabulous hat, or wearing bright colors, or a great shoe, or different lipstick, or whatever, you actually can step into being that future version of yourself. It's very hard to feel like you're living as your best self when you're wearing the same sweatpants with stains on again, and your shoes are dirty, and you're just not making an effort. And it's the little things about style and appearance that make such a difference. So for example, you can go to the coffee shop wearing your sweats with stains on and go in there, order your coffee and leave. But if you go in there and you feel good about how you look, whatever that means, you brushed your hair and you feel good about yourself and you brush your teeth, then when people want to interact with you, you're going to be more confident when you interact with them. You're going to be willing to have a longer conversation. You're going to be more willing to say, oh, that's so interesting. You know, I have a business where I do XYZ, or, oh, I know somebody who could help you with that. Like, let me make an introduction. But when we're not feeling good about ourselves, we don't put ourselves out there like that. And one of the things I've learned in life is it's the people I talk to and the community and networks that I build that are one of my most essential resources. And maybe that's because I'm a 4/6 in human design. I don't know. But it's, for me, all the magic happens from the people I know. And when I'm not feeling good about myself and I don't want to talk to strangers and I go to a party or an event and I, don't feel good about how I'm dressed, and so I stand in the corner and I'm sort of not including myself, then nothing happens. I think the magic of the world happens when you are an active participant. And the bigger a participant you're willing to be, the more magic and miracles come to you.
Oh, I love that so much. It's so freaking true. You hide, you keep yourself kind of small. You just like move through life with your head down when you're like, I look like trash today. Like I'm not trying to see anyone I know. I'm not trying to talk to anybody. Like you stay in this like small little lane, or you go to the gym and your head's down. You're not looking at anyone. You're not making any eye contact. I also think like for dating, which we'll talk about like love and dating in your story with that in a little bit, but like that completely closes you off from meeting people, from catching someone's eye, from having, sparking a conversation and actually seeing that there are people out there. There are opportunities available to you, job opportunities, like so many different things. Absolutely. As we're recording this, I'm going to the Taylor Swift Eras tour in Miami this weekend.
Fun. Oh my God, I'm so excited for you.
Which is, I figured, I didn't know if you're a fan of her, but I figured you would like even just the vibe and the energy of it, because it's like a whole moment where you dress up, you pick an era, like it's the outfits, it's everything. And I'm kind of last minute because I've been really busy with work the past couple of weeks. So I am ordering 6 outfits, all different kinds of shoes, big sunglasses, different earrings, all these things, disco balls to hang from my ears, like all these different things. And my partner is like, it's just a concert. Can't you wear like a t-shirt and jeans? I'm like, listen.
Oh no, honey.
No, because the entire experience, the energy, what I'm going to be able to manifest just from being in the vibration of feeling great about myself, of being excited about this opportunity and this experience, it's all going to change because I love the way I'm expressing myself and I feel embodied in what I'm wearing. And that's always really, really important to me. And not everyone will understand that, but feeling good about how you're presenting yourself absolutely does change the opportunities, the frequency, and what you are magnetic for in your life.
For sure. And you only get that moment one time. I went to see Beyonce last year with some friends of mine in Vegas, and I remember exactly what I was wearing. I was wearing a purple bedazzled crystal Gucci jumpsuit, purple combat boots, a purple cowboy hat, and like purple mesh sparkle gloves with feathers on them. I had an amazing time and I felt like I should be on that stage. And it was such a great feeling to really celebrate the moment. And like, I'm going to see Paris Hilton next week perform in Hollywood. I'm so pumped.
Stop.
And I'm like, I need to wear something so sparkly. But then the day after that, I'm going to like a nerdy tech conference. But I'm still going to plan my outfits, and it's probably going to be like a pink jumpsuit and a big fucking hat, because I want to show up as the person that I know myself to be. And when you think about all of these places as opportunities for networking, I hate that word networking, but like, let's say meeting amazing, magical, kindred spirits, having incredible opportunities come to you, you want to be on, like all the lights on, so that those people can find you and that they're attracted to your energy, because it just makes the hugest difference. And then I can go home and I can live in leggings and Nikes for like a week. That's fine. But for me, when it's time to turn it on, it's on.
Yeah. I went to an event a couple months ago, and it was like a kind of like a business event, a business conference. It was a little bit unconventional, but I decided for the exact same reason. I'm like, I want to start conversations. I want to talk to people. I want to know, and I want people to feel my energy before they even say hi. Like I want my presence for them to be able to know, oh my gosh, like she's probably like this, or she's into that, or I really want to talk to her. So I wore this like sparkly strapless jumpsuit with all these cutouts, and it had all of the different like astrology signs all over it, and like mermaids and stuff. And I was like, this is giving, like, I want to talk to this person. And it does. It opens so many doors for you. So hot tip for everyone, dress to start conversations. And Gala is like the biggest example that I'm sure you get people coming up to you all the time about, I love your hair. I love your nails. Oh my God, your outfit.
Constantly, especially little old ladies, which is my favorite, because I hope that they see like their younger self in me, or I hope that they just like, it just brings them a thrill, which is really nice. Like, I'm dressing for little old ladies. I'm not dressing for men. I'm really dressing for them. But, you know, so many women will come up to me and say, oh, I love your hair. I could never do that. It's like, why couldn't you do that though? You are living in this place where you've decided that everybody else's opinion about you, how you look, what you do, how you live your life matters more to you than what you actually want. And there's nothing wrong with playing around and experimenting. And actually, if you did, you'd probably find that you inspired the people around you, and they wouldn't be horrified. They wouldn't burn you at the stake, that you wouldn't get fired. You'd actually probably excite some people.
When did you first really discover that your energy and your expression was actually influencing the reality around you, and that you could utilize that to kind of bend it in your favor?
That's a really good question. And I'm sure it happened earlier than this, but I remember when I was in my mid-30s, early 30s, I had just come out of a marriage, and I had always seen myself as like a cute girl. I never saw myself as being sexy or sensual or like anything like that. And I got this new boyfriend who sort of helped me see myself differently. And I remembered thinking, I would always see these like sexy women, and I grew up with like Jessica Rabbit. She was my idol, but I was like, oh, I could never be like that. Kind of like those women who say, oh, I love your hair. I could never do that. And I started to realize that, oh, I can embody this like sexy character if I want to as well. And I remember going to Las Vegas with a couple of my friends and realizing that when I used my sexual charm and power, people would eat out of my hand. But when I didn't have access to that, then I was just kind of like everyone else. And you have to push and cajole to get attention or whatever. And I started to realize that there was really something in inhabiting that sensual energy that really shifts the dynamic of a room so palpably. So I think that's one of the major times I realized that. But I have kind of known it in other ways since I was really young.
I love that. It's so true. Being a woman, there's so many things that are challenging about it, but there are so many blessings. Like, there's nothing like that feminine energy and that like charm that you can just turn on. Really, you can get so far with that. Absolutely. What are some of your kind of favorite either like rituals or perspectives on manifestation, maybe something that you find to be really helpful for getting what you want out of life?
So one of my core beliefs and philosophies is that feeling good is your job. And the reason for this is that when we feel good, just like when we get dressed up and we're doing our passions and all these things that we've just spoken about, it seems like you're living in a musical. People offer you things just happen. It's like everything is on and everything flows and it's easy. And the way I see manifesting is you think of something that you want and the universe opens a big trapdoor and it just falls out. Like, it falls out instantly, but it falls onto a conveyor belt. And the speed of the conveyor belt depends on how good you feel. So if you feel amazing and you're high flying and you're happy and you're making the effort to take care of your emotional constitution, you're doing your regulation practices, you're journaling, you're going on walks, you're being generous with people, all that stuff, that conveyor belt moves so quickly. Things just happen, pop, pop, pop. But when you're miserable, complaining, not taking action, pointing the finger at everybody else, not taking responsibility for yourself, the conveyor belt slows down so much. And sometimes it grinds to a halt. So that's why feeling good is really your job, because I think it's undeniable that when we feel good, things just happen. It's so quick.
I love this image of the conveyor belt because I think sometimes people can get stuck in the idea of like, why is it not coming? Why is it not arriving? And feeling like the universe, God, source, whatever, is almost withholding from them. Like the gifts are not available to them. The miracles are not available to them. The opportunities, the money, the love, it's not available to them. But when you use this imagery that you've just painted for us of the conveyor belt, it's like it drops through and it's there. It is there. It's up to you now. It's your energy. It's your frequency. It's how you're operating. It's your actions. It's your beliefs that influence how quickly or slowly that's actually going to come to you. So there is no withholding. There is no punishment of like, you're not good enough. You're not worthy. It's not coming yet because you don't deserve it. It's like, it's there, but what else could we be taking accountability and responsibility for to speed up the journey of that? I love that so much.
Absolutely. And the other great thing about that is that when you're feeling good and you're like, this is my job, I'm going to wake up, this is the first thing I'm going to do in the morning, is like put on some music that makes me feel good. I'm going to send a loving text message to somebody. I'm going to cuddle my dogs. I'm going to do the things that make me feel great so that I can start my day in this really good energy. Then it's like, these things show up, and sometimes we have this belief that there are things that are harder for us to manifest than others. Like some people will say, oh, I can manifest money really easily, but relationships are a nightmare. Or, oh, I've always had love in my life. I've been married for 20 years, but I've never had any money. I just don't know how to manifest that. You're manifesting all the time, but it's the speed. And it's the question is, how good can you feel about that thing? So maybe you feel great about love. That's why it's happening. It's not a problem. That's an easy belief for you. The money is more challenging. And the thing is that when we make feeling good a part of the experience, then we're not just suffering until something happens. We're enjoying the whole process. And that is what makes it so satisfying. Because often you get the thing and you're like, oh, cool. Okay. Like, it doesn't feel like that much. Okay. But it's really about who you became on the way to that manifestation. How did you change? How did you evolve? Who did you have to become? You really had to become your ideal future self to have that thing happen. So it's all a practice to bring us to this new level.
And I imagine, for you, tapping is a big part of that process of becoming the ideal future you. So let's talk a little bit about like how this modality of EFT tapping that you fell in love with, that changed your life, that changes your clients' lives, how that can be utilized in this process of like, okay, I want to speed up the conveyor belt. I want to get the things that I want. I want to become that ideal future version of myself. How can tapping help someone step into that new identity?
So tapping and manifesting works so beautifully because one of the reasons that manifesting can be challenging for people is the beliefs we have about the thing that we want. We're worried about, well, if I get this, pay raise, are people going to ask me for money? And then I'm going to have to talk to them about that. And that's going to be uncomfortable. Or if I make all this money, am I going to have to pay taxes? And like, that doesn't feel good. And I'm stressed out about that. And is the IRS going to arrest me, etc.? So we have all of these conflicting beliefs. And when you want something with one hand, but you're pushing it away with the other, there's no movement. The conveyor belt is stuck. It's like, we can't move. So tapping is a way to move through those beliefs and really unblock yourself so that you can come to a place where you can see different solutions, you can see different options, and you're no longer in a fight or flight sense about that thing anymore. So they're just such good bedfellows. And when I started my blog and I had lots of limiting beliefs like, am I ever going to make any money from this? Like, is this going anywhere? Am I wasting my time? Every day I would write down the limiting beliefs that were coming up for me on a piece of paper on my desk. And at the end of the day, I would go tap them all out, like 5 or 6 things every day. And I swear that is why the business grew so quickly, because once you eliminate those beliefs, it's like full steam ahead. Because the way that it works is your beliefs create your actions and your actions create your results. So if your beliefs are like, I don't know how to do this, or I suck at this, or no one's ever going to care, then your actions are going to be like, well, I'm just going to scroll on Instagram instead of writing a newsletter, or I'm going to fuck around and watch Netflix rather than creating 20 reels about this thing and just putting myself out there. And so we get completely different results. So when we're feeling stuck and stagnant, sometimes we're like, well, let me try and do a different action, but we can't really implement that action properly because our beliefs don't back it up. Your brain is saying, this is a waste of time. This sucks. You suck. This is pointless. And so we really don't get the traction that we want. So when we start with our beliefs, with tapping or whatever other modality you like to use, it just changes the game so radically.
Yeah, you got to start with the thoughts. Thoughts influence the beliefs. Beliefs are what create the actions and behaviors. And then it's a whole cycle from there. That's kind of like the root, which is why tapping is so amazing. I also love it. I'm a huge fan of it. It's been really helpful for me in my own life and so many of my clients. And I'm sure so many of our listeners, they probably even follow you. And because I feel like you're such like an icon in the tapping space, and you do it, you know who else? What is his name? Brad Yates.
Tap Daddy. We love Tap Daddy.
Literally, I'm like, we love Brad Yates. And also, like, you obviously have such a different vibe than Brad Yates.
So different. And we're such good friends. He like sends me gifts for my birthday. Like, he's just the sweetest, loveliest man.
Oh my God, I love that. But yes, you bring this like uniqueness to it that is very attractive. It has its own like flavor. And yeah, there's so many women that are obviously changing their lives through your work. So that's incredible. Speaking of manifesting and tapping and shifting your beliefs that you can create the results that you want in your life, we've got to talk a little bit about love, because that's been a big journey for you in life. And I'm sure, the manifesting and the tapping and all of that and changing your beliefs about what you wanted or what was possible played a huge role in that. I know that after being single for 2 years, you decided that you wanted to attract a different kind of man. So you went on 100 dates. Can you share with us a little of that journey and like what you learned about love and dating and yourself in the process?
Yeah. Can you tell us what possessed you to do this terrible thing? Yes. I went into that. I set that goal for myself at the end of 2019, not realizing that the next year was going to be a pandemic and that dating was going to be really challenging and weird and hard. But it was an amazing experience. And I really realized that it was important to date outside of a type. It was important to look at what they were triggering in you. And I learned so much about attachment style and imago blueprints, and really about how the people we are attracted to are similar to our parents in both positive and negative ways. And the more that we can come to a place of peace with our upbringing and the way our childhood figures acted, behaved, things they did, then we can start to attract different types of people. But when all of that is unresolved, you just keep dating your father over and over again. And it never works, obviously. So yeah, I went on that journey, which was incredible. And then I was in a relationship for about 3 years, and then decided I was like ready for the real thing. Did a love spell. I always do a love spell first. It worked really well. I actually wrote down 3 pages in my notebook around the characteristics of the man I was attracting, who I wanted to be with this person, like what behaviors and qualities did I want to embody around this person, and then also what were we going to do together? What were our activities, our shared passions? How did we want to spend our time together? Because my previous relationship, we actually didn't have a great values match or a great interest match, so we didn't actually have a lot to do together. Really, this whole thing was a big process of self-inquiry, and one of the major questions I had to ask myself was, why do I want to be in a relationship? And other than it feels good, I couldn't really come up with a good reason. And the problem was, it feels great to me to be single. No one to tell you what to do. You're free. Do whatever you want. It's great. So I had to really do some soul searching on that. And one of the things I actually realized this in MDMA ceremony, which was amazing, was that my life is great, but my life can only be exceptional when there are other people in it. And it's lovely to go to Venice in Italy and look at the gondolas, but it's not as lovely as doing it with somebody else. Just like it's lovely to record a podcast, but it's so much lovelier to do it with somebody else. And so I realized that in order for my life to be really like fleshy and juicy, I was going to require someone else in it to share things with and have experiences with. And that was one of the major things that shifted for me, was knowing why I wanted the relationship and having a really clear picture of what that would mean for me. I mean, look, there's so much that I experienced in that time, and so much stuff that I worked through to get to a healthy place. But anyway, I think I decided that I wanted someone new in my life in August 12th or something. I think I met him August 25th, and by Christmas we were engaged. It was very quick.
We see the ring on your finger.
Yes, ma'am. I love this ring. This is like my favorite thing of all time. It's so beautiful.
So you.
So me.
Okay, you said you wanted to date someone outside of your type. Let's talk about that for a little bit. Obviously, you mentioned childhood figures, parents obviously kind of influence who you're subconsciously looking for. You end up dating someone that has similarities to your father, for better or for worse. But in addition to that, a lot of women have this idea of like height, looks, build, hair, whatever. And that could be like the type that they're looking for. Or maybe it's someone who has a significant amount of status or money. Like there's something that they're looking for that they consider like that is my type. What was this like for you, and why did you, and what was the experience of starting to actually date men and entertain conversations with people where you're like, I would never normally pick this person? Did you feel not attracted to them at first? Like, did you have to adapt to that? What was that like?
Sometimes there was a little bit of an adjustment in the beginning to being like, oh, I definitely wouldn't like turn my head if I saw you on the street. But when I sit down and talk to this person, I'm enthralled. We could talk for hours. And both my fiance and my previous boyfriend were like that. We would just talk and talk and talk. I found them so stimulating and interesting and exciting. And that, I think, is one of the most important things. Because some people are like, well, he's got to be 6 foot, he has to have abs, and he has to be making $1 million a year, or I'm not interested. And it's like, okay, well, all of those things change over time. People get older, they actually do shrink with age. Like your spine's going to compress. He's not going to be 6 foot. And his abs, they may not last forever. Like that's the result of like being in the gym and not eating a lot of fun food. And the money comes and goes. And so for me, what I realized was it's the values and the character that are so much more important to me. Like my fiance has grown sons. He has gone through all kinds of things. He's been divorced before. And it's his character that tells me so much about who he is as a person. He is generous. He's kind. He's extremely ambitious and diligent and hardworking. And he's disciplined and all of these great things. And previously I was just like, oh, you're hot. Being hot doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter.
Well, and you can start to find someone hot for other reasons. It just takes longer than first glance. I feel like that, once, like sometimes you will meet someone and they don't have that initial, I've dated people like this before where I'm like, oh no, I'm not initially attracted. But then you get to know them and they become hot to you.
The sexiest person alive. Whereas there are so many hot people with terrible personalities. No character. They're not funny. Like funny is really big for me. They're not interesting. They have no goals. They have no vision. They're not supportive. They're threatened by you. Like there's so many things that are important to look for. And I feel like I hit the jackpot with my man. I'm really, really lucky and really fortunate. It's such a process. Like I got engaged when I turned 40. So it didn't happen for me early. I had been married before. It was a disaster. So, that was something that I worked through a lot. And a lot of it was about beliefs I had about men. Like another thing that came up for me in that MDMA ceremony, I realized that I had this core belief that men had more authority than I did. And so what would happen was I would get into a relationship with someone and I would be like, me, I'm fully formed. I've got my personality, da, 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 da. And I would meet them and then I would just start agreeing with everything they said. I would start giving my personality away and I would end up this like sad, boring, insecure person that wasn't me at all, but it's because I believed like, oh, if he likes that, I have to like that. Or if he says that, I have to agree with him. And when I was able to clear out that belief, like, no, men don't have more authority than I do, which like at a like regular conscious level, I'd say absolutely not. I don't believe that. But subconsciously, that was driving the whole show. So I think that's really a testament to how important it is to have these different tools so you can really look at what's going on in your subconscious. Because honestly, without that session, I don't think I would have ever realized that about myself. It was buried really deep.
Yeah, I think a lot of us have, because like you said, on the surface, like if someone were to say that to you now, like, oh, do you believe that men have more authority? You'd be like, absolutely not. Like, I don't believe that. So that's where, this deeper work and these healing modalities, plant medicine, tapping, hypnotherapy, whatever it is, it's going to help you kind of get into the subconscious and uncover what's blocking you is so, so key. That's why we love, kind of doing the deep inner work, because you find those things and it can unlock a lot for you, like an engagement in 4 months flat, like with your dream man.
Right. And it changes your life so much. Everyone's like, oh, the work, I know I have to do the work. It's like, okay, but on the other side of those big strides that you make is the life that you've always wanted, actually. Like, it really is. If you're actually doing the work properly and you're not just like skimming across the surface or like saying you did it, but you're not. And doing the work is often like crying your eyes out. It's like looking in the mirror and saying the hard things to yourself. Like, it's not pretty, it's not fun, it's not cute, but it's really valuable.
So worth it. We had an audience question about being a woman who's like very independent, self-sufficient, you're a go-getter, you're ambitious, maybe you have a business like yourself, you obviously can provide for yourself, you enjoyed being single because you can give yourself everything that you want already just as you are. Dating as someone like that, do you have any insights into, I think a lot of women fear that men will be intimidated by them or that they will have to let go of or surrender some of their freedoms and their independence of being able to live how they want to, travel, whatever, decorate the house how they want, like being used to getting what you want all the time because you provide it for yourself, and this fear of like having to reconcile some of that. What has your experience been like with that?
Well, I've definitely dated a lot of men who proclaimed to love strong women, but it turns out that that's actually not totally true. I think they could benefit from looking at their subconscious too, and their subconscious is probably telling them, she doesn't need you. This is dangerous. You should try to squash that as much as you can. And so it's not always, you know, someone will say like, I love strong women. Yes, like great, do your thing. But the proof is in the pudding, and we really can't judge people on their words alone. It's truly about their behavior. You know, I would have boyfriends that when I went away on trips with my girlfriends, they would call me and create some kind of bullshit drama every time. Or, you know, these little subtle things, they would talk down about my work or act like it wasn't important, and they were clearly threatened by what was going on. So I honestly believe, because I have this, that you can be in a relationship with someone who is totally secure and will let you do whatever you want. As long as that's not, I don't know, cheating on them or being disrespectful or, you know, something crazy and out of pocket. But my fiance is like, yeah, if you want to move to Los Angeles, that's fine. And if you want to do this with your business, that's great. And I support it. And whatever you want to do is completely okay. Like, that can exist. And I think we also need to look at, what is it that we really want from our relationships? Like, I am in a place now where I think I could be really happy being married, but not living in the same house as my husband. I don't need that, honestly. Like, the best part of a relationship, like the juiciest time usually, is when you started dating and you don't live together yet. And you don't have to deal with their bathroom or the snoring or the whatever. Like, why not keep it sexy and fresh? And as long as you're still seeing each other all the time, who fucking cares? And so I think it's actually such a bigger conversation than, is this man or this person going to infringe on my independence? Like, that's obviously something to consider, but also to consider, well, what do I really want? Do I actually want to have children, or is my mother just pestering me for a grandchild? Do I really want to live with a man, or do I want a Barbie dream house of my own? And fuck that, and he can live down the road. Like, we get to create this whole thing for ourselves. And yes, obviously it's a bigger question. I would say my experience has been that men who are a little bit older and have had more life experience tend to be less threatened by successful women, especially really successful men. They're like, do whatever you want. Great, fine, because their sense of self is so intact. But I think especially people who are coming up, they're building their career, they're working really hard, they're really hustling. They may be thrown by the fact that you have a few one-to-one clients and you're making good money and do most of your calls in your pajamas or whatever, you know, and he has to go to the office. Like, it's really interesting. I feel like there are so many women living in this really new way of doing business where they work from home, they work when they want to, they create what they want to, they do work that's fun and fulfilling and joyful and creative. And I see so many men who are like running a business, they fucking hate it. They go to an office, they don't like anyone on their team. It's all about the bottom line. Like, it's such a different way of living. Honestly, a lot of them are jealous of that. I think that's hard for them to see because they won't allow themselves to have that too. I think there are so many forces at play with this conversation. It's not as simple as like, oh, he just has a small dick. Like, no, maybe he does, but it's probably not the whole story. There's probably a lot of other things going into it.
Yeah, so true. Even in my own experience, I've been on both sides as well. Like, I used to have a boyfriend in college who was like so pressed about me doing things like joining a sorority or like going to parties or like wearing a crop top because he was like very insecure and always worried that I was going to be unfaithful. And I'm literally like the most loyal person ever. Didn't even like look at boys, probably like wasted 2 years of my life, but whatever. And then my partner now, like just a couple weeks ago, I posted like a bikini picture in the mirror as I was like launching a program, and I was like, gotta get the attention somehow. He replies to the Instagram story and he's like, should have shown a nipple. I'm like, thank you for the support. See, he's always like, if you want to do OnlyFans, like we can make extra money. I'll be the photographer. But actually having someone who's so secure in themselves that they're not threatened by your sexuality, your success, your money, any of that. I also believe that it's possible. And I think it's important for women to have and to hear conversations like this so that they can be expanded in case they feel, within their field or within their, immediate circle that that's not happening. Just know that it is available in the world and that people are experiencing it, which means that you can have it too.
And if you are in a relationship with someone who does try to control you or put you down, just get the fuck out of there. There are millions, actually billions of people in the world, and nobody has more authority over your life than you do. So you get to do whatever the fuck you want. So tell him bye-bye and go on and live your best fucking life. Some of the most amazing things in my life have happened when I was single and really committed to my vision and making amazing shit. My life was so fulfilling and nourishing and juicy and good. You don't have to pick like, oh, I'm either in a miserable relationship or I'm alone and miserable. Like, no. It's a false dichotomy.
PSA, dump him.
Dump him.
Dump him. We're done with it.
Just like, no. What would Sam do? She'd be like, see ya.
Yeah. I'd be like, bye. It's so funny because I think, my dad is an Aries and I'm a Sagittarius. I have a Virgo rising.
Oh, that's so cute. I'm a Virgo with a Sag moon.
Oh my gosh. That makes a lot of sense.
And my mother is an Aries.
Okay. It makes a lot of sense. I feel like I inherited a lot of traits from my dad and kind of that like fiery energy, also being a fire sign myself. But I think back to even when I was younger, like with that boyfriend who was like, you can't join a sorority or like, don't wear a crop top. Like my responses to him, I look back and I'm like, okay, I probably should have broken up with him earlier, but at least I stood my fucking ground. Like I literally would be like, well, I'm going to wear it and I'm going to do that. So there's two options. You can either get over it or we can break up. That was my forever vibe and my mood. So if anyone needs to like absorb or adopt a little bit of that energy to like really choose yourself in your life and know that you can have it all, go ahead and take that. And here's your permission from Gala and I. Dump him. You can do better.
These people are just bullies. They're just throwing their weight around because they feel bad about themselves and they're trying to make you feel bad too. So just don't fall for it.
We got to talk a little bit about money. So I want to hear from you what it means to have a billionaire baddie mindset.
Oh my God, we're really covering the gamut today. Wow. What does it take to have a billionaire baddie mindset? I think honestly, a lot of it is about feeling the sense of freedom. And it's not necessarily about the things or the stuff, because as most of your listeners probably know, like you lust after a handbag and you get it and you're excited for like 2 minutes. And then you're like, okay, what's for dinner? I think a lot of it is about having a sense of freedom in what you create and what you do. And I really think that one of the best things about making a lot of money and one of the best reasons to make a lot of money is you get to hire your favorite people and do your favorite shit and be super creative and add to their life and help expand their life in new ways. And so I think when we think about it in that way, it becomes less intimidating and more fun and joyful. Kind of like that thing we were talking about with the way women are doing business online and the way men are kind of stuck in like the 1970s. We get to look at money in a new frame as well. It's such a fascinating topic, my God. But tapping is so powerful for changing those beliefs we have or those ruts we feel stuck in or those plateaus we think we have met, for really blasting through to a new level.
So good. If people want to start tapping with you, where should they go?
HighVibeHoney.com is my insanely huge tapping library. I've been tapping with High Vibe Honey for 6 years. There's hundreds and hundreds of sessions in there on everything you could possibly imagine. So I literally take you by the hand, no pun intended, and lead you through it.
So good. And can you tell everyone where you mostly hang out online? I know you're on Instagram. Are you also on TikTok? Where are you hanging out?
I'm not really on TikTok, but I am on YouTube because my girl Erin and I just put together this insane show called Vortex Vision, which is like a feel-good talk show, spiritual variety show. And we have 6 episodes and they are so badass. So it's Vortex Vision TV on YouTube. I'm super proud of it. We built a set in my basement. I had a house full of crew. It was complete pandemonium, but one of the best and most fulfilling things I've ever done in my life. life. So if you want a taste of my philosophies with some of my amazing special guests and what their philosophies are on life and how to actually use them, that is the place to go.
Yes, so good. You guys got to go check out those episodes. We'll link everything in the show notes below. If you don't already follow Gala, go give her a follow. Let her know that you came from Makeshift Happen. And if you loved this episode or any of the conversations here and you know someone in your life who you think would love tuning into this, copy the link to this episode, send it to a friend, let them know you were thinking of them.
Tell them to dump their boyfriend.
Literally.
Be like, hey, fast forward to like 47 minutes. Okay, great.
Send it to the friend that you're like, you just know she needs to hear it.
Bro, he sucks.
You can blame it on us. You don't have to say it. We'll say it.
Yeah, it's us. It's okay. We'll take the hit.
We'll take the hit for you. Thank you so much for coming on, Gala. It was such a pleasure. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure that you share, screenshot the episode, share it to your Instagram stories, tag Gala and I so we can see who's listening. And we will talk to you guys next week. Bye.